If the camera wasn't recording, nobody would believe what this billionaire's dog did to the black girl he barely knew. And honestly, even with the footage, people still argue about what really happened that day. It all started with a warning no one took seriously. A billionaire pacing his mansion like something was stalking him. A massive dog, Titan, shadowing a baby girl as if he could see danger moving through the walls. And a teenage black girl from the other side of town, Zuri Hale, hired for a job she didn't even apply for, a job that would pull her into a secret she never asked for. But the real story? It began the moment Zuri stepped into that cold mansion, and Titan locked eyes with her like he already knew her. From that second on, everything felt off. The baby wouldn't sleep. Titan wouldn't rest. And Zuri started hearing things in the hallways. Shadows moving, floorboards creaking, the kind of sounds that make your skin crawl even when you pretend to be brave. Still, everyone brushed it off. Even when Titan began guarding the nursery door like a soldier on the front line. Even when he growled at empty rooms. Even when Zuri found something in baby Lumi's old belongings that should have never been found. And if you've ever felt something was wrong before anyone else believed you, you'll understand exactly how she felt. Then came the moment that changed everything. 10 minutes. One camera. One baby. One dog. And one truth everyone had been avoiding. Titan wasn't paranoid. He wasn't aggressive. He wasn't confused. He was right. Before we continue, take 1 second, literally one, to hit subscribe. If something like this happened in your house, you want to know the signs before it was too late. And if you're choosing not to subscribe, comment why. I want to understand your reason. Because what happened in the next few minutes inside that mansion, what Titan did, what Zuri saw, and what the camera captured, no storyteller has ever been able to fully explain it without their voice shaking. Now, let's go back to the morning everything began to unravel. Zuri Hale wasn't supposed to be extraordinary. At least, that's what life tried to convince her every single day. She grew up in a neighborhood where dreams didn't survive past the streetlights. A place where loud arguments traveled through thin walls, where the air smelled like fried food and unspoken pain, and where hope had to fight just to stay alive for one more night. Yet somehow, Zuri wanted more. Not more in a selfish way. Not more like she wanted to be better than anyone, but more like she wanted to breathe without fear, live without counting coins, and finally see her mother smile without hiding the stress behind her eyes. Have you ever looked at your life and whispered, "There has to be more than this"? If yes, then you already understand her. Every morning, Zuri woke up before sunrise. The building would still be quiet, the world still half asleep, but her mind was already racing, thinking about the 3 jobs she had to juggle before school even started. She babysat for neighbors who barely said thank you. She cleaned apartments people left dirtier than their conscience. She ran errands for elders who trusted her with their last few dollars. And she never complained, because in her mind, complaining didn't change anything. Action did. People often misjudged her. They thought she was too serious, too ambitious, too focused for someone her age. But deep down, Zuri simply understood something most adults forgot. Your future only changes if you do. Still, even with all her motivation, she had no idea how far life would stretch her. No idea how soon she would collide with someone whose world was nothing like hers. No idea that a billionaire, a baby, and a dog with a secret were about to rewrite her destiny. Once this story turns the corner, missing the next twist will be dangerous. The truth is, Zuri's life was about to change in a way she never expected. And everything started with a single decision she made on a day that felt ordinary, but wasn't. She didn't know it yet, but 20 miles away, a massive dog with ice blue eyes was already sensing her arrival. A dog that never trusted strangers. A dog that remembered tragedy. A dog that was about to recognize something in Zuri that even she didn't know about herself. What would you do if your entire life flipped in 24 hours? Would you be ready? Because Zuri wasn't. But she was about to find out anyway. 20 miles away from Zuri's neighborhood stood a mansion so quiet it almost felt offended by noise. The mansion belonged to Cashin Ward, a billionaire with a reputation colder than the marble floors in his hallway. Cashin wasn't the type of man people casually approached. He wasn't warm. He wasn't friendly, and he certainly wasn't patient. But he was brilliant, frighteningly brilliant. He built a tech empire before turning 30. Investors worshipped him, reporters feared him, and employees whispered his name like a warning. But all his success couldn't help him with the one thing he wasn't prepared for: a baby. Her name was Lumi, his niece, a tiny girl with big eyes and a softness that didn't belong inside that cold house. After a tragedy no one in the mansion liked to speak about, Lumi had been placed under Cashin's care. He didn't know how to raise a child. He didn't know how to comfort her. He didn't even know how to properly warm a bottle. But he tried. He failed often, but he tried. The one being who truly knew how to watch Lumi was Titan, Cashin's Alaskan Malamute. A massive, wolf-like dog with ice blue eyes and intelligence that felt almost human. Titan wasn't your average pet. He noticed things humans didn't. He reacted to things long before anyone else could see or hear them. And lately, Titan had been more alert than usual. He slept under Lumi's crib. He blocked the door if he heard footsteps. Sometimes, in the dead of night, he growled at empty hallways as if someone or something was there. Cashin told the mansion staff Titan was just protective. Marvetta, the house manager, told herself Titan was sensitive. But Titan knew better. Something was coming. Something he had sensed once before on the night Lumi's parents died. Have you ever felt like something terrible was about to happen, but couldn't explain why? That's what Titan felt every single day. And if the people in that mansion didn't prepare, the next tragedy would happen right under their noses. The security cameras recorded everything in that house. Every hallway, every room, every corner. But what they were about to capture in the coming days would be so unbelievable that even Cashin, a man who trusted only facts and data, would question reality itself. Titan paced the nursery that night, his claws clicking against the floor. Back and forth, his eyes locked on the window, like he was waiting for something to appear. Lumi stirred in her crib, and Titan immediately moved closer, positioning himself like a shield. Whatever was coming, Titan would be ready. But would anyone else? Subscribe now before the danger arrives. You want to see what happens next. Still not convinced? Comment and tell me what it takes. I am listening. Poverty has a voice. A sharp, urgent voice. Some people never hear it. Others hear it every day until it becomes a soundtrack they can't turn off. Zuri lived with that voice. It whispered reminders like, rent is due soon. Your brother needs school supplies. Your mom needs her medication. One late afternoon, she was running errands for Ms. Igioma, a kind elderly woman who paid Zuri with gratitude and small bills that always came with prayers. Zuri stopped by a tiny corner shop to pick up items from the list. But something on the community board caught her eye. A paper, slightly wrinkled, barely noticeable. It read, urgent, childcare assistant needed. Immediate start. High pay. Must be responsible. Must be calm. Must pass safety check. Zuri stared at the flyer for a full minute. Most people would walk past it. Most teens weren't qualified. Most wouldn't even have the courage to call. But Zuri wasn't most people. Her hands were shaking when she took a picture. Her voice almost cracked when she dialed the number. Yet she called anyway. Have you ever done something terrified because the alternative was worse? That was Zuri in that moment. The call connected. A woman answered. Sharp voice. Zero nonsense. This is Marvetta. Speak. Zuri introduced herself, trying to sound more confident than she felt. The woman didn't laugh. She didn't sigh. She didn't dismiss Zuri. But she asked questions. A lot of them. She sounded like someone who had no time for mistakes. Someone who needed the right person. Not just any person. After what felt like an interrogation, she said 3 words that made Zuri almost drop the phone. Interview. Tomorrow. Early. Zuri couldn't breathe. She couldn't think clearly. But she managed to whisper, I'll be there. Good. And dress professionally. The employer doesn't tolerate foolishness. Click. The line went dead. Zuri stood frozen in the shop, heart pounding so loud she thought everyone could hear it. A job she didn't expect. A chance she couldn't afford to lose. And fear pulsing through her like electricity. Little did she know, she wasn't stepping into just a job. She was stepping into a world she had no idea she was connected to. 20 miles away, Titan lifted his head suddenly, as if sensing a shift in the air. Something was changing. Someone was coming. He didn't know her name yet. He didn't know her face yet. But he knew her presence was important. Critical even, because buried deep in Zuri's past was a connection she never knew existed. A connection to the tragedy that took Lumi's parents. A connection that would explain why Titan would soon do something so unbelievable that cameras had to capture it, where no one would ever believe it happened. What would you do if you discovered your life was connected to a mystery you never knew existed? Cashin wasn't expecting a childcare applicant that day. If it were up to him, he wouldn't hire anyone at all. But Lumi needed care. Marvetta insisted. Titan wouldn't leave her side long enough for Cashin to work. So reluctantly, he agreed. He sat in his glass office, typing aggressively, barely acknowledging Marvetta's updates about the interview scheduled for tomorrow morning. Cashin was the type of man who trusted data, logic, facts, and nothing else. Well, months. He tolerated them. Except Lumi, the only person he had left. Even then, he didn't feel capable of caring for her the way she deserved. On the security monitors positioned across his desk, Titan paced the nursery like something was deeply wrong. Cashin couldn't explain it, but Titan's tension was affecting him too. Something felt off. He couldn't name it, but Titan sensed it. When Marvetta told him the applicant would arrive tomorrow morning, he simply nodded without looking up. He didn't care who the girl was. He didn't think she would last. Most people couldn't handle the silence in this house. The weight of grief that pressed down on every room. The unspoken rules. The coldness that came with working for someone like him. But Titan might think differently. And Cashin had learned one thing since Lumi's parents died. When Titan acted strange, something important was about to happen. He pulled up the security footage from the night of the accident. The night everything changed. The night he lost his brother and sister-in-law in a crash that investigators said was suspicious but could never prove. Titan had been there, in the car behind them. He saw everything. And ever since that night, Titan hadn't been the same. He became hyper-alert, protective beyond reason, almost paranoid. Cashin replayed the footage for the 100th time, searching for something he might have missed. Some clue, some answer. But all he saw was Titan barking frantically at the wreckage, refusing to leave until the ambulances arrived. "What did you see, Titan?" Cashin whispered to the screen. Titan, still pacing in the nursery, suddenly stopped. He turned his head toward the window, as if he heard something no human could detect. His ears flattened, his body tensed. Then, just as quickly, he relaxed and returned to Lumi's crib, laying his head on the edge like a guardian refusing to abandon his post. Cashin closed the footage and rubbed his tired eyes. Tomorrow, some girl from a world he knew nothing about would walk into his mansion. She would try to care for Lumi. She would probably quit within a week like the others. But if Titan approved of her, that would mean something. Because Titan didn't trust easily. And lately, Titan didn't trust anyone. Would this girl be different? Would Titan sense something in her that Cashin couldn't see? He didn't know yet, but he was about to find out. Subscribe now. You don't want to miss the moment they meet. Zuri barely slept. She kept imagining walking into a fancy house, embarrassing herself, saying something wrong, or freezing like a statue in front of people who lived in a world she didn't understand. But deep down, she felt something powerful. Fear mixed with purpose. She laid out her best outfit on the chair beside her bed. A clean blouse, a modest skirt, and her mother's pearl earrings, small and chipped, but meaningful. Her mom noticed. "Were you going like that?" she asked quietly from the doorway. Zuri hesitated, then explained everything. The flyer, the phone call, the interview tomorrow morning. Her mom didn't panic. She didn't warn Zuri to stay in her lane. She didn't tell her she was reaching too high. She simply crossed the room, touched Zuri's cheek gently, and whispered, "Baby, sometimes God pushes you into rooms you didn't know you belonged in." Zuri's eyes filled with tears. She needed those words more than she realized. She needed that courage. Her mom continued, "Don't shrink yourself to make others comfortable. You hear me? You walk in there with your head up." Zuri nodded, unable to speak. That night, she prayed for strength. But she also prayed for a sign that she'd be safe in that unfamiliar world. She didn't know she was praying about Titan. The dog who sensed danger before humans. The dog who would one day risk everything for her. The dog whose actions would become the twist at the center of this entire story. Across town, in a mansion, Titan couldn't settle. He moved from room to room, checking windows, sniffing doorways, listening to sounds only he could hear. Marvetta watched him from the kitchen, arms crossed. "What's gotten into you tonight?" Titan ignored her and returned to the nursery. He lay down beside Lumi's crib, but his eyes stayed open, wide, alert. Something was shifting. Someone important was coming tomorrow. He could feel it in his bones the same way he felt the danger the night Lumi's parents died. But this time, the feeling was different. Not threatening, not dark. This time, it felt like an answer. Cashin passed by the nursery and paused. "You okay, boy?" Titan's tail thumped once against the floor. Cashin crouched beside him and scratched behind his ears. Tomorrow's just an interview. Nothing major. But Titan knew better. Tomorrow wasn't just an interview. Tomorrow, the girl carrying a secret connection to this family would walk through those doors. Tomorrow, everything would start to make sense. And tomorrow, Titan would finally meet the one person who could help him protect what mattered most. Have you ever felt like your whole life was about to change, and you didn't even know it yet? That's exactly where Zuri and Titan were. One sleep away from a collision that would rewrite both their futures. The next morning, Zuri arrived early. Too early. She stood at the mansion gate, staring at the massive structure in front of her. Glass walls, towering ceilings, a silence so heavy she could feel it in her bones. "Lord, what am I doing here?" she whispered. Before she could turn around and run, the gate slid open automatically. Marvetta approached from the main entrance, tall, strict, and dressed like discipline itself. "You're early," she said, not smiling. "I thought it was better to be early than late," Zuri stammered. Marvetta raised a brow. Most girls your age can't even wake up early. Follow me." Inside the mansion, every footstep echoed. Zuri felt like she was walking into a world that didn't want her. A world that would chew her up and spit her out the moment she made one mistake. She passed rooms bigger than her entire apartment. She saw walls without a single speck of dust. Furniture that looked too expensive to touch. Everything was perfect. Too perfect. Have you ever entered a place so clean you were scared to breathe wrong? That was Zuri. Still, she didn't back down. She needed this job. Her family needed her. Marvetta led her down a long hallway lined with photographs. Family portraits, awards, newspaper clippings about Cashin Ward's success. But one frame caught Zuri's attention. A photo of a young couple holding a baby. They were smiling, genuinely happy. "Who are they?" Zuri asked softly. Marvetta's face tightened. That was Lumi's parents. They passed away months ago. Zuri's chest tightened. "I'm so sorry." Marvetta didn't respond. She just kept walking. They reached a large door at the end of the hallway. Marvetta paused and looked at Zuri seriously. "Before you meet Lumi, there's something you need to know. This house has a protector. His name is Titan. He's a dog, but he's not like other dogs. He decides who stays and who goes." Zuri swallowed hard. "What do you mean? If Titan doesn't trust you?" This interview ends immediately. No second chances. Zuri's heart pounded. Her palms were sweating. Marvetta pushed the door open. Inside was a nursery bathed in soft morning light. Toys neatly arranged. A crib in the center. And standing between Zuri and that crib was Titan. Not just big, enormous. His fur looked like snow and smoke mixed together. His eyes were sharp, icy, almost glowing under the light. He didn't bark. He didn't growl. He just watched her. Zuri froze. Most people would have stepped back. Most would have whispered, "Nope," and left immediately. But Zuri stayed still. Titan tilted his head, studying her like he was searching for something. Then, something unexpected happened. He walked toward her. Slow, measured, purposeful. And what he did next shocked everyone in that room. Titan walked towards Zuri with purpose. Slow, deliberate. His ice blue eyes locked onto hers like he was searching deep into her soul. Zuri's entire body went rigid. Her breath caught in her throat. Marvetta stood by the door, arms crossed, watching carefully. Most people would have stepped back. Most would have panicked. But something inside Zuri told her not to move. So she stayed still. Titan stopped directly in front of her, so close she could feel the warmth radiating from his massive body. He sniffed her hand slowly. Once. Twice. Then something nobody expected happened. Titan leaned his enormous head against Zuri's chest and closed his eyes. Not aggressively. Not cautiously. Gently. Like he recognized her. Marvetta gasped softly. Her clipboard nearly slipped from her hands. At that exact moment, Cashin entered the room. He froze in the doorway, eyes wide with shock. He's never done that to anyone, Cashin said quietly, almost to himself. Zuri didn't know what to do. Her hands were trembling, but she slowly reached up and touched Titan's head. His fur was softer than she imagined. Titan's tail thumped against the floor. Once. Twice. A rhythm of approval. Even baby Lumi, half asleep at her crib, smiled and reached her tiny hands toward them. Zuri looked at Cashin, confused. Is this good or bad? Cashin stepped closer, studying Titan's behavior like he was witnessing something impossible. I don't know, he admitted, but Titan doesn't trust people. Ever. After the accident, he barely even trusts me. Zuri swallowed. What accident? Cashin's face darkened. He didn't answer immediately. Marvetta cleared her throat. Lumi's parents. Titan was there when they died. Zuri's heart sank. She looked down at Titan, who was still pressed against her like he refused to let her go. I'm so sorry, she whispered. Titan opened his eyes and stared up at her. Not with sadness. Not with anger. With recognition. Like he had been waiting for her. Cashin watched the exchange, his analytical mind racing. Nothing about this made sense. Titan had rejected every caregiver who walked through that door. Some he ignored. Some he growled at. One woman he physically blocked from entering the nursery. But this girl? He accepted her immediately. Why? Cashin's voice was firm but curious. What's your name? Zuri. Zuri Hade. He repeated it slowly, as if searching his memory for any connection. Hade. The name didn't register, but something about this moment felt significant. Titan finally stepped back from Zuri, but he didn't leave her side. He positioned himself between her and the crib, like a bridge connecting them. Cashin made a decision he didn't fully understand. You're hired. Zuri blinked in disbelief. What? Really? Yes, Cashin replied, his eyes still on Titan. Titan approves. That's enough. Marvetta looked stunned, but said nothing. Titan snorted softly, as if confirming the choice. Zuri couldn't believe it. A billionaire had just hired her based on a dog's instinct. But what she didn't know was this. Titan wasn't just approving her. He was protecting her. Because buried in Zuri's past was a secret even she didn't know. Stay subscribed. The truth is closer than you think. Cashin didn't hire people easily. Trust didn't come naturally to him. But Titan had spoken. Not with words, but with instinct. And in this house, Titan's instinct was law. Cashin observed Zuri as she carefully approached Lumi's crib. She wasn't polished. Not fancy. Not trained in elite childcare. But she was gentle, patient, warm. And Lumi responded to that warmth immediately. The baby reached her tiny hands toward Zuri, gurgling softly. Zuri smiled and gently touched Lumi's fingers. Hey there, little one, Zuri whispered. I'm Zuri. Lumi's eyes lit up. She giggled. A sound so pure it filled the cold nursery with life. Marvetta watched from the corner, visibly stunned. She usually cries with strangers. Cashin's chest tightened. Lumi hadn't smiled like that in weeks. Without looking away from the baby, Cashin said, You start tomorrow, 7 a.m. Marvetta will explain your duties. Zuri turned wide-eyed. Wait, just like that. Just like that, Cashin replied flatly. Titan doesn't make mistakes. Titan, still positioned beside Zuri, huffed as if to say exactly. Zuri wanted to ask 1,000 questions. She wanted to understand why a billionaire would hire her so quickly. Why a dog's approval mattered more than her resume. Why this all felt too easy. But she didn't. She simply nodded. Thank you. I won't let you down. Cashin didn't respond. He just turned and left the room, his mind racing. Something about this didn't add up. Titan's behavior wasn't just unusual. It was unprecedented. He returned to his office and pulled up Titan's behavioral logs. Notes he'd kept since the accident. Patterns. Reactions. Warning signs. Titan had growled at 17 different caregivers. Ignored 12. Physically blocked 3 from entering. But this girl? Immediate acceptance. Why? Cashin typed her name into his private database. Zurihale. He ran a background check, something he did with every employee. Clean record. No criminal history. Average student. 3 part-time jobs. Single mother household. Nothing unusual. Nothing that connected her to his family. But Titan knew something Cashin didn't. And that terrified him. Because the last time Titan acted this strangely was the night before the accident. The night before Cashin lost his brother and sister-in-law. Titan had paced, growled at shadows, refused to leave their side. And then, the next day, they were gone. Cashin closed his laptop and stared at the security monitor showing the nursery. Zuri was rocking Lumi gently, humming a soft melody. Titan lay at her feet, eyes half closed but still alert. Peaceful, protective, purposeful. What do you know, Titan? Cashin whispered. Titan's ear twitched, as if he heard the question through the walls. But he didn't move. He stayed exactly where he was, guarding the 2 people who mattered most, and preparing for the danger only he could sense coming. Because Titan knew something nobody else did. Something that would soon turn this entire house upside down. Something the cameras were about to capture. Don't look away now. The twist is building. The first day should have been simple. Feed Lumi. Change her. Play a little. Keep the house peaceful. But Titan watched Zuri with unsettling intensity. Not in a scary way. Not aggressive. More like analytical. Like he was studying her every move. Every time she moved closer to Lumi's crib, Titan's tail thumped once against the floor. Every time she stepped away, Titan followed her with precision, his eyes never leaving her. Zuri whispered to Lumi while changing her diaper, "Your dog is something else." Titan huffed loudly. She laughed nervously. "Okay, sorry. Not your dog. You're the giant wolf guardian." Titan stared at her like he understood the joke perfectly. But there was something else behind those ice blue eyes. Something Zuri didn't yet recognize. Titan wasn't watching her out of suspicion. He was watching her because she was important. Important to Lumi. Important to the mansion. Important to the future no one could see yet. And most importantly, important to the dangerous moment Titan knew was coming. By midday, Zuri noticed something strange. Every time she walked down the hallway leading to the nursery, Titan positioned himself between her and the far end of the corridor. Not blocking her, just guarding, like he was making sure nothing from that direction could reach her. "Is there something down there I should know about?" Zuri asked Marvetta during lunch. Marvetta's face tightened. She set down her coffee slowly. "That hallway leads to the east wing. We don't use it anymore." "Why not?" Marvetta hesitated, then said quietly, "That's where Lumi's parents stayed when they visited. After the accident, Mr. Ward sealed it off." Zuri felt a chill run down her spine. "Sealed it off? No one goes in there. Not even for cleaning." Zuri glanced back toward the hallway. Titan was sitting at the entrance, staring into the darkness beyond. His posture was rigid, alert, like he was watching for something, or someone. Later that evening, Zuri was rocking Lumi to sleep when she heard it. A soft creak, distant, faint, coming from the east wing. Her body froze. "Did you hear that?" Titan's head snapped toward the sound instantly. His ears flattened. A low growl rumbled deep in his chest. Zuri's heartbeat quickened. Marvetta said no one goes in there. Titan stood slowly, his massive body blocking the doorway. The creak came again, louder this time, like footsteps. Zuri whispered, "Should I call someone?" Titan didn't move. He just growled louder, teeth slightly bared. Then silence. Complete, suffocating silence. Zuri held Lumi tighter, her hands trembling. Titan remained at the door for 10 full minutes, refusing to relax. When he finally turned back toward the crib, his eyes met Zuri's. And in that moment, she understood something terrifying. Titan wasn't being paranoid. Titan knew something. Something about this house. Something about the accident. Something about why he accepted her so quickly. He was preparing her for what was coming. But what? Have you ever felt like you were being protected from a danger you couldn't see? That's exactly where Zuri was. And the danger was closer than anyone realized. You want to see what Titan does next. By day 2, Zuri couldn't ignore the pattern anymore. Every time she entered the hallway leading to Lumi's nursery, Titan growled softly. Not loudly, not aggressively, just enough to say, "Something's wrong here." She tried asking Marvetta again, "Is this house haunted or something?" Marvetta's entire body stiffened. Her hands gripped the counter. No, but ever since the accident, Titan has been alert. More than alert. Obsessive. Zuri leaned closer. What exactly happened that night? Marvetta's eyes drifted toward the sealed hallway, like she was remembering something she wished she could forget. Lumi's parents. Galaxy Doll. They were driving back from a charity event. The roads were clear. The weather was fine. But somehow, their car went off the bridge. Zuri's stomach twisted. That's terrible. The worst part, Marvetta's voice dropped to a whisper. Investigators said the brakes were tampered with. Zuri froze. Wait, you're saying someone killed them? Marvetta didn't answer directly. She just said they couldn't prove it. No evidence. No suspects. The case went cold. But Titan was there, Zuri said slowly, piecing it together. Marvetta nodded. He was in the car behind them with the driver. He saw everything. When they pulled Lumi's parents from the wreckage, Titan refused to leave. He howled for hours. The sound was so haunting, the paramedics said they'd never forget it. Zuri felt tears prick her eyes. She looked down the hallway where Titan now sat, staring into the darkness. Does he still remember? Every single day, Marvetta said. That's why he's so protective now. He couldn't save them, but he'll die before he lets anything happen to Lumi. Before Zuri could respond, Titan suddenly stood and walked toward them, but he didn't stop at Zuri. He walked past her and stopped at the entrance to the sealed east wing. His body went rigid. His fur bristled along his spine. Then he did something that made both women's blood run cold. He growled, deep, guttural, threatening, at nothing, at empty air. Zuri whispered, "There's no one there." "I know," Marvetta said, her voice shaking. But Titan didn't stop. He took one step forward, teeth bared, eyes locked on something they couldn't see. Then, from somewhere deep inside the sealed wing, they heard it. A door closing. Slow, deliberate, like someone was inside. Zuri grabbed Marvetta's arm. "You said no one goes in there." "No one does." "Then who just closed that door?" Marvetta's face went pale. She pulled out her phone with trembling hands and called Cashin immediately. Titan didn't move. He stayed planted at the entrance, refusing to let whatever was inside come any closer. His message was clear, "I know you're there." And Zuri realized something terrifying in that moment. Titan wasn't protecting them from a memory. He was protecting them from someone. Someone who was still in this house. Someone who had been here all along. What would you do if you realized the danger wasn't outside, but already inside? Late one afternoon, Zuri was rocking Lumi to sleep in the nursery. Soft music played from a little wooden music box on the shelf. A lullaby, so gentle it could calm a storm. The melody was sweet, innocent, peaceful. But suddenly, Lumi started crying. Hard, loud, uncontrollably. Her tiny face turned red. Her fists clenched. Her whole body trembled with terror. Zuri panicked. Hey, it's okay. I'm here." She tried everything. Humming, rocking, whispering soothing words. Nothing worked. Lumi's cries grew louder, more desperate, like she was trying to warn Zuri about something. Then Titan burst into the room. Not walked. Burst. His teeth were bared. His fur bristled like electricity. His eyes blazed with fury. Zuri stepped back, clutching Lumi protectively. "Titan, what's wrong?" But Titan wasn't looking at her. He was staring at the music box, growling. Low, dangerous, like it was his sworn enemy. Zuri's hand shook as she quickly shut the music box. The melody stopped. Instantly, Lumi stopped crying. The baby's breathing slowed. Her body relaxed. She whimpered softly and buried her face in Zuri's shoulder. Titan's growl faded, but he didn't take his eyes off the music box. Zuri blinked in confusion. It was just the music. She looked at the box more carefully. It was old, beautifully carved, delicate patterns etched into the wood. But something about it felt wrong now. Marvetta appeared in the doorway, breathing hard. What happened? I heard Lumi screaming. The music box, Zuri said, her voice shaking. She started crying the moment I played it. Marvetta's face drained of color. Where did you find that? It was on the shelf. I thought it was hers. Marvetta crossed the room quickly and picked up the box like it was cursed. This belonged to Lumi's mother. It was in their car the night of the accident. Zuri's blood ran cold. What? After the crash, someone brought it here. Mr. Ward couldn't bear to look at it, so it was stored away. It shouldn't be in this room. Titan growled again, softer this time, but his message was clear. Get it out. Zuri stared at the box in Marvetta's hands. Why would Lumi react like that? She's just a baby. She couldn't possibly remember. Marvetta's voice was barely a whisper. Babies remember trauma differently. Sounds, smells, feelings. Titan stepped between them and the music box, his body tense. Zuri's mind raced. Titan was there that night. He heard this music box before the accident, didn't he? Marvetta nodded slowly. It was playing in their car when they left for the event. Zuri's heart pounded. So this music box is connected to their death. Maybe, Marvetta said carefully. Or maybe Titan just associates it with that night. But Titan's reaction said otherwise. He didn't just remember the music box. He feared it. And if Titan feared something, there was a reason. Because Titan didn't fear memories. He feared threats. And somehow, this innocent-looking music box was a threat. Something huge is about to happen. When Cashin saw Zuri holding the music box, he stiffened like he'd been struck. Put that down, he said sharply. His voice wasn't loud, but it cut through the air like a blade. Zuri flinched. I didn't mean anything. Lumi cried, and I said put down. His tone left no room for argument. Zuri quickly set the music box on the table, her hands trembling. Titan immediately positioned himself beside her, protective and firm. Cashin's jaw tightened when he saw Titan's stance. Even his own dog was choosing her side. He rubbed his forehead, exhaling slowly. That box brings back memories. Zuri didn't push. She understood pain. She recognized grief when she saw it carved into someone's face. But she couldn't ignore what just happened. She couldn't pretend Titan's reaction meant nothing. So she asked softly, do you think Titan remembers the night it happened? Cashin's entire body went rigid. His eyes darkened. I'm sure he does. He didn't elaborate. He didn't need to. The silence that followed said everything. Cashin walked to the window, staring out at the estate grounds like he was searching for answers in the distance. My brother loved that music box, he finally said. He bought it for his wife on their anniversary. She played it every night before bed. Zuri listened quietly, sensing he needed to speak. The night they died, she had it with her in the car. When the investigators recovered it from the wreckage, it was still playing. His voice cracked slightly. Can you imagine? A lullaby playing while they... He stopped. Couldn't finish the sentence. Zuri's chest ached. I'm so sorry. Cashin turned to face her, his expression cold again, walls rebuilt. That's why it shouldn't be in this house. It's a reminder of what I couldn't prevent. You couldn't have known, Zuri said gently. But Titan did. The words hung in the air like a confession. Zuri frowned. What do you mean? Cashin looked at Titan, who was still watching the music box with unblinking intensity. The night before the accident, Titan wouldn't leave their side. He paced. He whined. He kept nudging my brother toward the door like he was trying to stop him from leaving. Zuri's skin prickled with goosebumps. He knew something bad was going to happen. Dogs sense things we don't, Cashin said quietly. Danger, illness, death. Titan sensed it, but no one listened. Titan's ears flattened at the memory. Cashin's voice dropped to almost a whisper. I've spent months wondering what Titan saw that night. What he knows that we don't. Zuri swallowed hard. Do you think someone really did tamper with the car? Cashin's eyes met hers. Cold, calculated, haunted. I don't think. I know, but I can't prove it. Then who? I don't know, he interrupted. But Titan does. They both looked at the dog. Titan stared back, his ice blue eyes holding secrets no human could speak. He knew the truth. He knew who killed them, and he was waiting for the right moment to reveal it. At night, the mansion felt haunted. Not by ghosts, but by silence. A heavy silence that carried unspoken memories, unresolved grief, and secrets too dangerous to speak aloud. Zuri stayed late one evening to finish organizing Lumi's toys. She didn't mind. The overtime pay would help her family, and honestly, she was starting to feel protective of the baby. Titan followed her everywhere. Down the hallway, up the stairs, into the nursery, like a shadow with fur. She whispered, "You're supposed to be relaxing, big guy." Titan didn't blink, didn't move, just watched. Then she heard it. A whisper. Faint, unclear, like someone speaking just beyond the walls. Zuri froze, her heart suddenly pounding. "Hello." No response. She stepped closer to the hallway, straining to hear. The whisper came again, soft, deliberate, like someone was calling her name. Zuri. Her blood turned to ice. She spun around. "Who's there?" Silence. Titan immediately moved in front of her, blocking her path down the hallway. His body was tense, ears flat, eyes locked on the darkness ahead. A low growl rumbled deep in his chest. Zuri's voice shook. "Titan, what is it?" He didn't budge, refused to let her move forward. The whisper came once more, closer this time. Zuri. It wasn't her imagination. Someone was calling her. But Titan's reaction told her everything she needed to know. Whoever it was, she didn't want to meet them. She backed away slowly, her hands trembling. Okay, we're leaving." Titan stayed between her and the hallway, growling until she was safely back in the nursery. Only then did he relax slightly, though his eyes never left the doorway. Zuri sat on the floor, trying to steady her breathing. Who was that? Titan looked at her with an expression that seemed almost human, almost like he was saying, "You don't want to know." But Zuri needed to know. She pulled out her phone and texted Marvetta, "Has anyone else heard voices in this house at night?" The response came quickly. "Don't go looking for answers you're not ready to handle." Zuri stared at the message, her stomach twisting. What did that mean? She looked at Titan, who was now lying in front of the nursery door like a living barrier. "You're protecting me from something, aren't you?" Titan's tail thumped once. Confirmation. Zuri's mind raced. The sealed east wing. The music box. The whispers. Titan's constant vigilance. Everything was connected, and she was starting to realize something terrifying. Titan didn't just accept her because he liked her. He accepted her because she was part of this. Part of whatever happened to Lumi's parents. Part of the truth he'd been guarding. Part of the danger still lurking in this house. But how? She'd never met these people before. Never been to this mansion. Never had any connection to this family. Or had she? Titan stared at her like he knew the answer. Like he was waiting for her to remember something she'd forgotten. Something buried deep in her past. Something that connected her to this tragedy in ways she couldn't imagine. Have you ever felt like your whole life was a puzzle with missing pieces? Zuri was about to find hers. The pieces are coming together. 2 days later, at exactly 3:17 a.m., Lumi began screaming. Not crying, screaming. The sound tore through the mansion like a siren, sharp and desperate. Zuri, half asleep in the staff room, bolted upright. Her heart hammered against her ribs as she sprinted down the hallway. Titan was already ahead of her, his claws scraping against the marble floor, his massive body moving with terrifying speed. Cashin burst out of his room, eyes wild with panic. What's happening? Zuri didn't answer. She was too focused on reaching the nursery. When she threw open the door, she expected to find Lumi tangled in her blankets or scared by a nightmare. But instead, Titan was at the window, barking, loud, frantic, terrified. His entire body was rigid for standing on end, teeth bared at something outside. Zuri ran to Lumi and scooped her up, holding her close. The baby's face was red, soaked with tears, her tiny body trembling. "It's okay, sweetheart. I've got you," Zuri whispered, but her own voice was shaking. Cashin rushed to the window and yanked open the blinds. Nothing. No intruder. No animal. No movement. Just darkness and the empty garden below. But Titan kept barking, his eyes locked on something they couldn't see. Cashin's voice was sharp. "Titan, enough. But Titan didn't stop. He clawed at the window, desperate, like he was trying to break through the glass. Zuri held Lumi tighter. "Cashin, what's out there?" "Nothing," he said, but his voice cracked with uncertainty. "There's nothing there." Then Titan did something that made the air leave the room. He stopped barking, completely, and let out a low, mournful howl. A sound so haunting, so filled with grief and warning, that Zuri felt tears sting her eyes. Cashin's face went pale. "No." "What?" Zuri asked, her voice barely a whisper. "That sound," Cashin said, his hands trembling. "He made that exact sound the night my brother died." Zuri's blood turned cold. Titan howled again, longer this time, like he was mourning something that hadn't happened yet. Marvetta appeared in the doorway, her face stricken. "He's sensing it again." "Sensing what?" Zuri demanded. "Death," Marvetta said quietly. "He howls like that when he senses death." The room fell silent, except for Lumi's soft whimpering. Cashin pulled out his phone and checked the security cameras. All clear. No motion detected anywhere. But Titan's reaction said otherwise. He wasn't reacting to something outside. He was reacting to something coming. Something inevitable. Zuri looked down at Lumi in her arms, then at Titan, then at Cashin. "What if whoever killed your brother is coming back?" Cashin's jaw clenched. "Then they'll have to go through me." Titan positioned himself in front of Zuri and Lumi, his stance protective and final. His message was clear: they'll have to go through me first. But the question no one wanted to ask was this: would that be enough? Because whoever was out there had already killed twice. And Titan knew they were coming for a third. What would you do if you knew danger was coming but couldn't see it? Don't miss what happens next. As the days passed, Zuri became more connected to Lumi. She learned her cries, her laughs, her small habits, her fears, the way Lumi's nose scrunched when she didn't like her food, the way she reached for Zuri's face when she needed comfort, the way she fell asleep only when Zuri hummed a specific melody. And Lumi became attached to her too. The baby would cry when Zuri left the room. She'd light up when Zuri returned. She'd refuse to sleep unless Zuri was near. Cashin noticed. Marvetta noticed. Even Titan noticed and accepted it. But something else was forming quietly beneath the surface. A connection between Zuri and the tragedy she didn't understand. Titan watched her like she was part of a puzzle he hadn't solved yet. At first, Zuri thought it was because she was new. But one afternoon, she found Titan staring at a photograph on the wall. A picture of Lumi's parents. The mother was beautiful, smiling brightly, holding baby Lumi in her arms. The father stood beside her, proud and protective. Titan stared at the photo for a long moment. Then he looked at Zuri, back at the picture, back at her, like he was comparing something, connecting something she couldn't see. It made her shiver. "What are you looking at?" she whispered. Titan tilted his head, his ice blue eyes piercing straight through her. Zuri stepped closer to the photograph, studying it carefully. Lumi's mother had kind eyes, a warm smile, dark hair pulled back in a bun. And then Zuri noticed something that made her breath catch. The woman was wearing the same pearl earrings Zuri wore every day. Small, chipped, delicate. Zuri touched her own ears, her heart racing. No, it couldn't be. They just looked similar. Lots of people had pearl earrings. But Titan's stare told her otherwise. He saw the connection. He recognized something. Zuri pulled out her phone and texted her mom. "Where did these earrings come from?" "The ones you gave me." The response took a few minutes. "They were your grandmother's. She gave them to me before she passed." "What?" Zuri's hands trembled as she typed back. "What was Grandma's full name?" "Evelyn Hale." "Baby, what's going on?" Zuri stared at the screen, her mind spinning. She looked back at the photograph on the wall. Then she saw it. A small nameplate beneath the frame she hadn't noticed before. Margaret Evelyn Ward. Evelyn, the same middle name as her grandmother. Zuri's knees went weak. It couldn't be a coincidence. She looked at Titan, who was still watching her with that knowing stare. "How are we connected?" she whispered. Titan didn't move, but his eyes said everything. "You're closer to this family than you know." Zuri pulled up a search on her phone. Margaret Evelyn Ward. Articles appeared. Charity events. Society pages. Business news. Then she found an older article. One from 20 years ago, a photograph of a young Margaret Evelyn standing beside another woman at a community event. The caption read, "Margaret Ward and her cousin Evelyn Hale volunteer at local shelter." Cousin. Zuri's vision blurred. Lumi's mother was her grandmother's cousin, which meant Lumi wasn't just a baby Zuri was caring for. Lumi was family. Distant, but family. And Titan knew. He'd known from the moment he met her. That's why he accepted her. That's why he trusted her. That's why he was protecting her. Because Zuri wasn't just hired help. She was blood. Have you ever discovered your life was connected to something bigger than you realized? Zuri just did. And the danger surrounding this family was now her danger too. One evening, Marvetta handed Zuri a box of Lumi's old items to organize. These came from her parents' house. Marvetta explained. Mr. Ward hasn't had the strength to go through them yet. Zuri nodded and took the box to the nursery. Inside, she found baby toys, tiny socks, soft blankets, and a pair of the smallest shoes she'd ever seen. Each item carried the weight of a life cut short. Parents who would never see their daughter grow up. Zuri's throat tightened as she folded each piece carefully. Then at the bottom of the box, she found something that made her freeze. A letter, folded neatly, sealed in a small envelope. The handwriting on the front was elegant, feminine. It read, "For whoever cares for our Lumi." Zuri's hands trembled as she opened it. The letter was short, just a few lines. But those lines changed everything. If anything happens to us, trust Titan. He knows the truth. He saw everything. Protect our daughter. And if you're reading this, you were meant to find her. This is not coincidence. This is fate. Zuri read it 3 times, her heart pounding harder each time. Titan knows the truth. He saw everything. This is not coincidence. This is fate. She looked at Titan, who was lying near Lumi's crib, watching her with those piercing ice-blue eyes. "What truth?" she whispered. Titan lifted his head slowly, his gaze steady and unwavering. Zuri's mind raced. Lumi's mother wrote this letter before she died. She knew something might happen. She knew Titan would be the only witness. And somehow, she knew whoever ended up caring for Lumi was supposed to be there, was supposed to find this letter. Zuri stood and walked over to Titan, kneeling beside him. "You know who killed them, don't you?" Titan's ears flicked forward. His eyes didn't leave hers. "You've been trying to protect us because you know they're still out there." Titan shifted his weight, moving closer to her. Zuri's voice dropped to a whisper. "And you recognized me because I'm family. Because I'm connected to this." Titan's tail thumped once against the floor. Confirmation. Zuri felt tears prick her eyes. "But why me? Why now? I didn't even know they existed until a week ago." Titan stood and walked to the window, staring out into the night. His posture was tense, alert, like he was watching for someone. Zuri followed his gaze but saw nothing except darkness and trees swaying in the wind. "What are you waiting for?" she asked. But deep down she knew. Titan wasn't waiting. He was preparing. Preparing for the moment the killer returned. Preparing for the moment he would finally reveal the truth. Preparing for the moment he would do something so unbelievable that if cameras weren't recording, no one would ever believe it happened. And that moment was coming soon. Zuri could feel it in the air, in the way Titan's body tensed, in the way the mansion seemed to hold its breath. Something was about to happen, something that would expose everything. The question was, would they survive it? Titan turned back to her, and for the first time, Zuri saw something different in his eyes. Not just protection, determination. He was ready. The only question was she? Don't miss what happens next. Here the cameras start recording. The next day, a man arrived at the mansion. He wasn't invited. He wasn't expected. He wasn't welcome. Zuri was in the nursery with Lumi when she heard raised voices downstairs. Cashin's voice was sharp, controlled, but dangerous. "You're not supposed to be here." Another voice responded, smooth and confident. "I heard you hire new help. Thought I'd come see the arrangement for myself." Zuri's stomach tightened. Something about that voice felt wrong. She picked up Lumi and moved toward the door, but Titan was already there, blocking her path. His entire body was rigid. His fur bristled. A low growl rumbled deep in his chest. "Titan, what's wrong?" Zuri whispered, but Titan didn't look at her. His eyes were locked on the staircase, his teeth slightly bared. Zuri had never seen him like this. Not with the music box. Not with the whispers. Not even during the 3 a.m. incident. This was different. This was pure hatred. She heard footsteps approaching. Heavy. Deliberate. Then the man appeared at the top of the stairs. He was tall, clean-shaven, wearing an expensive suit that screamed wealth and power. His smile was too confident, too practiced, like he owned every room he entered. "Ah, you must be the new nanny," he said, his eyes scanning her from head to toe. "I'm Vincent Hale, family friend." Zuri's blood turned cold. Hale, her last name. The man noticed her reaction and his smile widened. Something wrong. Before Zuri could respond, Titan lunged. Not a warning. Not a bluff. A full attack. Cashin barely grabbed Titan's collar in time, using all his strength to hold the massive dog back. "Titan, no." Cashin shouted, but Titan was beyond control. He snarled viciously, claws scraping against the floor, every muscle in his body straining to reach Vincent. Vincent stepped back, hands raised, but his smile never faded. "Still hasn't warmed up to me, I see. You need to leave," Cashin said through gritted teeth, struggling to hold Titan. "Now." Vincent's eyes lingered on Zuri for a moment too long. "Of course, but we should talk soon, Cashin. About the estate. About Lumi's future. Get out." Vincent chuckled and turned toward the stairs. "Give my regards to the little one." The moment he disappeared, Titan stopped fighting. But he didn't relax. He stood at the top of the stairs, watching until the front door closed and Vincent's car pulled away. Only then did he return to Zuri, positioning himself between her and the staircase. Zuri's voice shook. "Who was that?" Cashin's face was pale, his hands still trembling from holding Titan back. "Vincent Hale. He was my brother's business partner." Zuri's heart stopped. "Hale? That's my last name." Cashin's eyes snapped to hers. "What?" "My grandmother's name was Evelyn Hale. The same Evelyn who was Margaret's cousin." Cashin's expression darkened. "Then Vincent is your family too." Zuri felt sick. Why does Titan hate him so much? Cashin looked at Titan, who was still staring at the door with murderous intent. "Because," Cashin said quietly, "Titan was in the car behind my brother the night of the accident. And Vincent's car was the one that cut them off before they went over the bridge." The room went silent. Zuri's knees nearly gave out. "You think Vincent killed them?" "I can't prove it," Cashin said. "But Titan knows. And Titan never forgets. You need to see what happens when Vincent comes back." At 1:42 a.m., the mansion alarm blared. Lights flashed. Sirens screamed. The entire house erupted into chaos. Zuri bolted upright in her bed, heart hammering. She grabbed her phone and ran toward the nursery. Titan was already sprinting down the hallway, his claws clicking rapidly against the marble floor. Cashin's voice echoed through the intercom system. "Stay in the nursery. Do not come downstairs." Zuri burst into the room and scooped Lumi into her arms. The baby was crying, terrified by the noise. "Sho, I've got you. I've got you," Zuri whispered, but her own hand was shaking. Titan positioned himself at the door, teeth bared, eyes locked on the hallway. A robotic voice announced through the security system, "Motion detected in the backyard. Motion detected in the backyard." Zuri's blood ran cold. Someone was outside. She heard Cashin's footsteps pounding down the stairs. Heard him shouting orders to Marvetta. Heard the sound of locks clicking into place. Then silence. The alarm stopped. The lights stopped flashing. But the silence was worse than the noise. Titan's growl grew louder, more vicious. Zuri pulled out her phone with trembling fingers. "Should I call the police?" Before she could dial, Cashin's voice came through her phone via text. "No. Stay quiet. Cameras are down. Cameras are down." Someone had disabled the security system. Zuri's chest tightened. She looked at Titan, who was now pacing the doorway, his entire body coiled like a spring ready to snap. Minutes felt like hours. Then Cashin appeared in the doorway, his face pale and grim. "What happened?" Zuri asked. "Someone tried to get in through the back gate," he said. "The motion sensors caught them, but by the time I checked the cameras, the feed was cut." "Cut? How?" "Someone who knows this house," Cashin said quietly. Someone who knows the security system. Zuri's voice dropped to a whisper. Vincent. Cashin didn't deny it. His jaw clenched. Titan suddenly stopped pacing and stared at the window. Not barking, not growling, just staring, like he was watching someone watch them. Zuri followed his gaze but saw nothing except darkness and the faint outline of trees. He's still out there, isn't he? She whispered. Cashin moved to the window and pulled the curtains shut. Titan thinks so. What does he want? Cashin looked at Lumi in Zuri's arms, then at Zuri herself. The estate. My brother left everything to Lumi. Vincent was written out of the will after they had a falling out. If something happens to Lumi, the estate goes to the next living relative. Zuri's stomach dropped. You. And if something happens to me, Cashin continued, it goes to extended family. Zuri's voice cracked. He's trying to eliminate everyone in line. Cashin nodded slowly. And now that you're here, connected by blood, you're a target too. The weight of his words crushed her. She wasn't just a caregiver anymore. She was an obstacle. And Vincent Hale eliminated obstacles. Titan moved closer to Zuri and Lumi, his body a living shield. His message was clear. He won't get to them without going through me. But the question haunting everyone in that room was simple and terrifying. Would Titan be enough? Because Vincent had already killed twice. And he was getting bolder. What would you do if you realized you were next on a killer's list? Zuri was about to find out. Don't look away now. The final confrontation is coming. Titan became restless. Not just alert. Restless. He paced constantly, checking windows every few minutes, staring at doors like they might burst open any second. His eyes scanned every shadow, every corner, every movement. He slept less, ate less, moved like a soldier on the edge of battle. And he began positioning himself between Zuri and Lumi every single moment. Not just near them, between them, like a living wall. Zuri noticed immediately. Titan, you're scaring me. But Titan wasn't trying to scare her. He was trying to save her. Because he knew something she didn't know yet. Something about Zuri herself. A connection she never realized. A danger she never suspected. A truth she never imagined. Cashin watched Titan's behavior with growing concern. He's preparing for something. Marvetta nodded, her face pale. He did this before, right before the accident. How long before? Zuri asked. 2 days, Marvetta whispered. Zuri's heart sank. And how long has he been like this now? Cashin checked his watch. Since yesterday. The implication hung in the air like a noose. They had 1 day left, maybe less. That afternoon, Zuri tried to feed Lumi, but Titan refused to let her near the windows. Every time she moved toward the light, Titan gently nudged her back toward the center of the room. Titan, I need to see what I'm doing, Zuri said softly. But Titan didn't budge. He positioned himself between her and the glass, his massive body blocking the view from outside. Then Zuri understood. He wasn't keeping her away from the window. He was keeping the window away from her. Someone was watching. Someone was waiting. And Titan knew exactly who. Later that evening, Cashin installed additional locks on every door. Motion sensors in every hallway. Cameras with backup power sources that couldn't be disabled remotely. This should hold them off, Cashin said, but his voice lacked conviction. Zuri looked at Titan, who sat perfectly still near Lumi's crib, his ice blue eyes fixed on the door. Titan doesn't think it's enough, does he? Cashin followed her gaze. No, he doesn't. Then what do we do? Cashin's jaw tightened. We trust him. Titan has kept Lumi alive this long. He won't stop now. But there was something Cashin didn't say. Something Zuri could see in his eyes. Titan wasn't just protecting Lumi anymore. He was protecting Zuri too. And the reason was buried in her past. A past she didn't remember. A connection deeper than distant cousins. Titan knew what Zuri didn't. That night, Zuri sat on the floor beside Titan, her hand resting on his fur. What do you know about me? She whispered. Titan turned his head slowly, his eyes locking onto hers. And for a brief, terrifying moment, Zuri saw it. Recognition, not just of her face, but of her blood. Titan didn't just accept her because she was family. He accepted her because he'd seen her before. As a child, years ago, before the tragedy, before the deaths. Before everything fell apart, Zuri's breath caught. "You remember me." Titan's tail thumped once. Confirmation. But if Titan remembered her, that meant she'd been to this family's house before, which meant her connection wasn't just distant. It was direct. And if Vincent discovered that truth, Zuri wouldn't just be another obstacle. She'd be the biggest threat to his plan. Because whatever Zuri witnessed as a child, whatever she'd forgotten, Titan remembered. And he was waiting for her to remember too, before it was too late. The day before the incident, the day before Titan did the unbelievable thing caught on camera, everything felt too calm. Unnaturally calm, like the world was holding its breath. Zuri fed Lumi her breakfast, humming softly. Cashin worked quietly in his office, checking security feeds every few minutes. Marvetta cleaned the kitchen with unusual focus, as if staying busy could ward off the inevitable. But Titan watched the window with unblinking eyes. He hadn't moved in hours, hadn't eaten, hadn't slept, hadn't relaxed. He was still, too still, like a soldier waiting for an attack he knew was coming. Zuri whispered to him, "What are you waiting for?" Titan didn't move, didn't blink, didn't breathe loudly, just watched. His entire body coiled with tension, every muscle ready to explode into action. Zuri felt a knot tighten in her stomach. Something was wrong, something she couldn't see but could feel in her bones. She picked up Lumi, holding her close. Titan stepped beside them immediately, positioning himself as a guard on both sides. Then it happened. A creak, soft, distant, coming from the sealed east wing. Zuri froze. Not again. But this time, it wasn't just a creak. It was footsteps. Slow, deliberate, getting closer. Titan's head snapped toward the sound. His lips pulled back, revealing teeth sharp as daggers. A low growl rumbled from deep within his chest. Marvetta rushed into the nursery. "I heard it too." Cashin appeared seconds later, his face grim. He pulled out his phone and checked the security cameras. His expression darkened. "Someone's inside the house." Zuri's voice shook. "How?" "You installed new locks. New sensors. Someone who knows this house better than I do," Cashin said coldly. The footsteps stopped. Complete silence. Then from somewhere in the hallway, a voice called out. Smooth. Confident. Familiar. "Cashin, we need to talk." Vincent. He was inside. Titan's growl turned into a snarl, vicious and unrestrained. Cashin stepped in front of Zuri and Lumi. "Stay behind me." But Titan had other plans. He moved to the doorway, blocking the entrance entirely, his massive body filling the frame. Vincent's footsteps grew closer. Then he appeared at the end of the hallway, smiling, always smiling. "There's the family," Vincent said, his eyes scanning the room. "Cashin, the help, and little Lumi." His gaze lingered on Zuri. "And you, the girl who doesn't remember." Zuri's blood turned to ice. "Remember what?" Vincent's smile widened. "You were there, Zuri, 10 years ago, at the summer estate. You were just a child, but you saw something you shouldn't have." Zuri's mind raced, fragments of memory flickering like broken glass. A summer house. Laughter. Adults arguing. A man shouting. Vincent continued. "You saw me arguing with your grandmother about the family trust. You saw me threaten her. And when she died 3 months later in that convenient accident, you were the only one who could connect the dots." Zuri's knees went weak. "You killed my grandmother?" "I eliminated a problem," Vincent said casually. "Just like I eliminated Margaret and her husband when they discovered the truth. Just like I'll eliminate anyone who stands between me and what I deserve." Cashin's voice was ice. "You'll never touch them." Vincent laughed. "You can't stop me, Cashin. I've planned this for years. And tonight it ends." He took a step forward. Titan exploded. Not a warning. Not a threat. Pure, unrestrained fury. But what Titan did next, the thing no one would ever believe if the camera wasn't recording, wasn't an attack. It was something far more intelligent, far more shocking. Titan lunged past Vincent and ran straight to the sealed east wing. Everyone froze. "What is he doing?" Marvetta whispered. Titan stopped at a specific wall panel. He barked once, twice, then clawed at it desperately. Vincent's face went pale. "No." Cashin's eyes widened. "That's where the original security footage is stored. The backup system no one knew about. Titan barked again, louder, more insistent. Cashin ran to the panel and pried it open. Inside was a small black box, a hidden camera system. My brother installed this, Cashin said, voice shaking. He told me if anything happened to him, Titan would know where to find it. Vincent lunged forward, but Titan was faster. He grabbed Vincent's sleeve with his teeth and yanked him backward with terrifying strength, pinning him against the wall. Cashin opened the black box and pulled out a hard drive. "This has everything," Cashin whispered. "The night of the accident, the tampering, everything." Vincent struggled, but Titan's grip was unbreakable. Zuri's voice trembled. Titan knew this whole time. He was waiting, Cashin said. Waiting for the right moment. Waiting for Vincent to confess. Waiting for all of us to be here to witness it. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Marvetta had called them the moment Vincent appeared. Titan held Vincent until the officers arrived, his ice blue eyes never leaving the man who murdered his family. When they finally took Vincent away in handcuffs, Titan released him and walked calmly back to Lumi's crib. He lay down beside it, finally at peace. The cameras captured everything. Titan's intelligence, his patience, his plan. If those cameras hadn't been recording, no one would have believed a dog could orchestrate justice. But Titan wasn't just a dog. He was a witness, a protector, a guardian, and he never forgot. Have you subscribed yet? Because this story proves that sometimes the most loyal hearts have four legs. Drop a comment and tell me, would you trust Titan with your life? I know I would.